Hi, welcome to the Newfoundland Cannabis Podcast. I'm your host, Brad.
And I'm Catherine.
And welcome to episode...
Number 3. My lucky number 3. Which is crazy because I didn't even think we'd get past 1. Hey!
I was like, shit, we got 1 down, and then I thought it's going to be like, we posted everything, and just it wasn't going to happen from there. So, that's cool.
Today, we're actually going to go right back to the roots of the podcast. Since this is the Newfoundland Cannabis Podcast, we're going to take a bit of time to go over the current legal situation, the rules that came with Prohibition 2.0. We're going to compare them kind of side by side with the federal medical license. So, if you're someone who can use cannabis medically, we're kind of going to show you the pros and cons of the recreational and the medical side.
And I would strongly urge you, we are certainly, of course, medical patients through the ACMPR. It's gone through a million different variations and letters over the years, but currently it's the ACMPR. So that means that we are authorized by Health Canada to grow more than the allotted. At least in Newfoundland, it's 4 plants. I think most provinces have around 4 plant limit, from what I understand.
No, I think that's across the country. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty certain that's across the country is 4 plants. If you can grow at all, it's 4 plants.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the standard. I literally just went to pass you a joint. We're both
I'm already smoking a joint, but whatever.
Okay, I'm on the indica.
I'm on the sativa.
So we'll see how this goes. I guess, there are certainly pros and cons to what's happened with legalization. Firstly, most places, yay, you can grow plants.
Yeah.
Now,
some places you can't. And actually, very slowly, it's getting more limited because you do have some situations of people abusing their grows, and now in Winnipeg, there is a situation where people want to start banning it in their neighborhoods.
Okay, I never read that myself. So, what are they looking to ban it for?
They're looking to ban medical grows, just because of the smell.
Oh, full-on medical, not even rec.
No, just medical grows, because they said it was the large amount of plants that was their problem. It wasn't some people growing plants, it's the large amount, because apparently for the first year that the people were using this house for their medical grow, there was no problem. But after about a year, probably when their filters started to break down and it was expensive to replace and everything, I'm sure, it started reeking, and the people said they couldn't even go out in their backyard without smelling it. And I know it's not for everybody.
It's not, and it's a tricky situation, right? Because it does balance peaceful enjoyment then for everyone.
Well, yeah.
And I'm respectful enough to know that while I love the smell,
yeah,
I love walking into our tent and just opening that up and just getting that smell right in our face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the situation of the smell as well, we can actually bring up the situation of walking down the street with a joint in your hand is not possible in Newfoundland unless you are a medical.
Yeah, so I guess for the recreational side.
A medical. A medical. Oh, one of them dirty, filthy medicals.
Yeah. Most of kind of information we're going to be reading through, and just kind of, well, not reading through, but kind of some of the points we're going to be touching on. I'm getting my information from the Newfoundland cannabis website, so this is the official shop and information page of the Newfoundland Liquor Corporation, who is in charge of cannabis really exclusively.
Yeah, they are the kind of the middleman of cannabis for the Newfoundland side. So what they actually do is they have a system that will link up with the current LPs within Canada, and it will determine the stock that they're able to order in. Then they will order it directly from the LP. It will be sent to them, and then they will ship it directly to you. So it's a little bit of a wait for the mail and kind of a workaround.
So it's one of those things with the Cannabis NL and like Newfoundland Liquor Corporation, they have agreements with specific LPs. It's not like you can't just get every
there are
brand of cannabis.
There are unfortunately some brand names and some LPs that we've seen across the internet that we have never seen here locally.
And there are, since October 17th, there are a couple of different ones that we've seen come through the Newfoundland supply chain as well.
But they've always been the same ones lately, kind of.
Yeah, like, I haven't seen much stock, really. Like, we always go in to check just to see, like, as much as I don't personally like that market, I want to know what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already baked, apparently. Where were we going to start with that?
Of course, you can't walk down the street smoking cannabis.
Yes.
You can't stand near a store, so you can't be in public and smoke cannabis. You can be in your own place of residence as long as your landlord allows it, unfortunately, in the residential
yeah, so like consuming cannabis, like on the recreational side, you are limited to your yard, your backyard.
Or your friends or family's yards. Or
like your property, that kind of, like, you're limited to, like, private property, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's treated in that sense very similar to alcohol, except there's no public place that you can gather and smoke cannabis.
Well, yeah, and there's no way to get a permit that we know of yet that you can kind of rent out a public place for a smoking-only consumption.
I don't know, it seems to be one of those things, like, in Newfoundland fashion, I know we've had someone try a hookah lounge, and unfortunately that lasted a little while.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We never got to go to it, and we really wanted to go.
I know, and, you know, we don't have the luxury of having anything like a cigar
club or
anything like that, which sucks. You can't, like, you really have nowhere that you can enjoy cannabis outside of your own home, and that's assuming that your rental agreement landlord is okay with it.
Yeah, exactly.
We are fortunate enough that for us that's not an issue.
The good thing is, though, if you are walking down the street, and as long as that joint is not lit, you can have up to 30 grams in your pocket.
Yeah, so the legal carry amount is still 30 grams. Like, I think that's consistent across the Cannabis Act, it seems.
Yeah.
Like, 30 grams on your person.
A little bit more than an ounce. That's not too bad for, like, you know...
Yeah, like, if
going from point A to point B.
Like, you know, let's not knock the negatives of it. We've all carried an ounce on us. Maybe, well, I can't say us all, but I have carried more than an ounce on me at once.
Yeah.
That didn't stop me prior to October 17th, but at least now you have that, like, you're not as paranoid about it. That's the recreational side. If you do follow us on social media, you see I did post out kind of like a little snippet from the Newfoundland Cannabis website, which does mention you know, where you can, and it does mention there are exceptions for medical patients. Yeah. So what are those exceptions?
Well, we can actually, as medical patients, carry up to 150 grams on our person at any given time.
Now, I'll note that's dependent on your prescription. It's up to a maximum. Okay.
Up to 150. And if you're walking down that street and you want to smoke a joint, you can smoke a joint. You are free to medicate when and where you need to medicate, as long as it's not inside. It can be inside of your house, of course, or your friend's house. Anywhere, basically, that someone is allowed to smoke or vaporize, you're allowed to smoke or vaporize your cannabis. That includes, you know, the airport here does have a smoking and vaporizing kind of like lounge off to the side, kind of past security. Like that as well does allow cannabis. Which
is understandable. You know, and I know people, and you know people that use cannabis medically, but like their doctor isn't
too savvy,
isn't okay with it, or
we
just
have
a
very old medical
system
here. Yeah, archaic, I say.
Yeah, it's not good. That's something I could rant about, but we won't. It's not the Newfoundland healthcare system.
I feel like that'll go into a few other things in the future. But
yeah, but for now it's
another can of worms.
It's not the Newfoundland healthcare podcast. You know, you can have those freedoms because thankfully the medical side is a little more federally regulated. So, like, that's great if you have, and in our case, we actually max out that 150 grams. So, Between the both of us, we could walk down the street with 300 grams of cannabis on us. So like if you are using cannabis medically but your doctor's not into it, so you're relying on that recreational market, and I say recreational market wherever you choose to get that, where we're not going to judge you, we're not going to tell you to go one way or the other, you do have that freedom with medical. Like if you can get a medical prescription, there are places that will help you do that.
There actually are a couple of cannabis connection type companies in St. John's, the capital of Newfoundland itself. We do have a couple here. We have a couple that cater specifically to veterans and people suffering from PTSD. In a more broad spectrum, we have Green Valley Wellness. We actually went through them ourselves.
Yeah, so full disclosure, like, and we're never paid, like, we don't get paid for anything we say or anything, you know, we're not making profit from it.
We do this all for fun and just shout out what we love, and, you know, we want to help people. You know, they helped us a lot, and we want them to be able to help other people. That's the only thing, that's the only way I can explain it.
Like, we can't sit here and say, you know, that without a doubt, and all Green Valley is going to be the best of the best, but it's what we used, and I really stand for what they're doing in the community, even outside of their passion for, like, cannabis as a medicine.
Well, yeah, no, they're just genuinely good people. It's not even just about
cannabis. And it's like, if you're a patient and there happens to be, like, they do, like, you can message them online or you can drop in if you're lucky enough to have one there. But it's such a welcoming environment. Like, if you're a patient, you can just go in there. If they're open, you can go in there and just hang out. Like, they have a magic butter that you can just go in and, you know, look at. And I guess if you want, you can use it. So it's really kind of cool that way. I know OG Growers, a grow shop here.
Yep.
They also do medical consultations. Like, they can get you in touch with, you know, some medical practitioners, assist you through, you know, the behemoth of Health Canada paperwork you need if you want to get authorized to grow. Green Valley will be able to do that for you as well. They helped us. We kind of rushed through, filled out our paperwork on our own, and I guarantee you, if it wasn't for the assistance of Green Valley, we would have got our paperwork sent back to us.
There was one checkbox. One
tiny checkbox in a little place you would never expect it to be. It looks like it's something you should leave blank. And if you miss that, it's going to set you back another, like, minimum 6 weeks until Health Canada gets it back. Once you get your medical prescription, you can, of course, get prescribed or get set up immediately with an LP.
Yep. And like the Shop Cannabis website that you were just speaking of, a couple moments there where you were saying you were getting your information from, an LP is actually an online distributor for medical cannabis. So it's kind of like the recreational online purchasing side of it.
And most, if not all of these, are doing both.
Yeah, they're usually under different names under the recreational cannabis side.
Like Broken Coast is one that, you know, we're familiar with personally. They're the same. I'm actually smoking Broken Coast right now because we are patients. Quadra, yes, that's what we picked up, which is Head Stash. For me, I love it. It's an 80% indica, and as far as like LP and recreational, or like LPs, I guess more broadly, because Broken Coast are medical too. This is good weed. They hand trim. Their plants are beautiful.
Oh, it's absolutely fabulous. Actually, one of my favorite sativas are by Broken Coast.
Galliano. And that's a Northern Lights haze?
Oh, yes. It is so good. All right. And if you ever want to try Broken Coast or anything on the recreational side, and you are in Newfoundland, you have a couple of options to purchase. Of course, online, as we just said.
Which is, again, it's actually shopcannabisnl.com. If you put a .ca there, that's going to get you to a very cheekily named website that's not legal at all.
It sells cannabis, but not the cannabis you're looking for.
Yeah, it's not going to be where the government wants you to sell cannabis or buy cannabis. Don't ever sell cannabis. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. 14 years.
So I do want to just fit in there really quickly. According to the shopcannabisnl.com website, if you purchase cannabis outside of or sell cannabis outside of the licensed system, the penalties have actually increased. Like and maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember ever worrying as like a cannabis purchaser about getting caught. Like I don't ever remember having a worry about that part of the transaction. But I mean, based on this, it says the penalties for buying or selling outside the licensed system is you could receive a ticket. Okay.
Which is reasonable.
That's, I guess, right? In the current system, that's more reasonable. You could be fined up to $100,000.
Holy fuck.
So,
Pardon my language.
you know, like, that's up to, but it doesn't set any barrier. Like, it doesn't say, like, okay, it's 10 grams you've got, now it's 100K. But the craziest of this, you could face up to 14 years in jail. 14 fucking years in jail. I believe under the previous, like, Control Act for cannabis, it was 7 years was the maximum.
Yeah, and now it's doubled.
So in legalization, it's now doubled, and the number of possible offenses have more than tripled. Like, I don't even know the number. It's significant. There have already been people convicted under the Cannabis Act in Canada, so it's not something that's just there not being enforced. Like, this is happening almost every day.
And to avoid yourself getting into any of those situations mentioned, you can legally purchase your cannabis from their website, or you can go to one of the physical stores. So in the St. John's area, you have a couple of options. So there are larger owned stores. Chain stores like Tweed, which is owned by Canopy Growth, which is kind of owned by an LP directly. So it's kind of like going to the Walmart of weed.
Yeah, now, because of how cannabis is handled here by NLC, it's really kind of a weird thing that happens when, like, Tweed owns a retail store, because the stores are technically private.
Yeah.
But NLC is the sole distributor, so these individual stores, even Tweed, as like a cannabis producer, even they have to purchase their product to sell in stores from NLC.
So they sell their product to NLC, to buy from NLC, to sell in their store.
So it makes absolutely no sense. Like, I don't... And I should note, in the Tweed stores, they don't have the choice over, like, only selling Tweed's product. They have to sell, like, everyone that NLC has a supply agreement with.
At the exact same price.
Yeah, so NLC is they set the price. There's no price difference. Like, every store you go to, cannabis will cost the same for better or worse. Mostly for worse.
Yep.
The pricing is bad. Broken Coast, as an example, it's like usually about $15 a gram if you get it.
On the recreational
side, it is insanity. I remember hearing about days when there were, like, huge busts and the island was basically dry. I remember hearing stories about cannabis being $20 a gram. But that was, extreme supply issue on the black market.
That is crazy, because I can't imagine paying that. At this point, like, I've only, been consuming for the last few years, so it's been within the black gray market, everything not being too bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, most of the cannabis I've purchased has been black market. Black market, like an ounce, the most I've paid for an ounce was $230, and I know that was pricey. For, like, what we got. It wasn't quads, it wasn't good shit. It was just, you got what you got. So, like, there are I guess, benefits that way. But it is a private infrastructure, so like there are independent stores, not many. So like you can go to Tweed.
Yeah, or you can go to THC, two locations for that. So there's Mount and there's Portugal Cove, and there's the Reef.
And those are independent, which those three, the Reef and the two THC locations.
Yeah.
Those are independently owned. They still have to sell the same NLC product, of course.
There's also the Healing.
The Healthy Vibe.
The Healthy Vibe. There we go. The Healthy Vibe downtown.
And these are just the ones we know of off the top of our head.
Yeah. No, there aren't many, though, that are licensed. That's the thing. And Loblaws, of course.
Yeah, so here it's called Dominion. And they hate it because, guess what, guys? It's unionized. Loblaws hates it.
Loblaws hates unions.
Now, unfortunately, it's a union of kids who don't
know how to use a union.
So it's a garbage union.
Yeah,
I work there.
Unfortunately. So I did too, so.
Yeah, I got you the job. So, yeah,
sorry.
the supermarket. You can go to the supermarket and in their little tobacco shop, I don't know if, like, the superstore has that elsewhere, but, like, they have a tobacco shop off the side.
Nova Scotia did, so.
Okay, so, like, the tobacco shop also sells cannabis now. That's something I dreamed of when I worked in the smoke shop. I dreamed of it. This is not the way I wanted it, but...
Yeah, but, oh well.
So these are, and I'll say these are the two largest contracts given in the province to stores.
Were Tweed and
Loblaws. Loblaws by a very wide margin was the largest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, almost every Loblaws that we've gone to has had cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And usually a better supply than the Tweed stores in some cases.
Yeah. And of course we're going to touch on a little bit more information on kind of the Tweed and the Loblaws having more of a stranglehold on the market right now in Newfoundland on the second half of this.
Yeah, this is going to be like our first two-part episode. There's a little bit to cover between everything.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover when it comes to just what is going on at this very moment in Newfoundland when it comes to legally consuming and carrying cannabis.
And so I know you had a couple of notes taken since, like, you know, we're stoners.
Yeah, after you go to a store and purchase your cannabis, when you leave that store with that sealed container, make sure it is out of the reach of yourself and anyone else in the car. Just put it in your trunk is your best bet. Just do it. There's so many people lately who have been getting pulled over and getting fined and getting arrested. Just so much for having cannabis within their reach. Don't do it. Like, it's so simple just to put it in your trunk.
We're not saying it. I don't agree with it.
No, I don't agree with the law or anything. But it's so simple not to have it happen.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, in the unfortunate system the way it is, just avoid it. You know, it unfortunately the laws are not communicated or were not communicated clearly. The information on this website is still using the language as if it hasn't been legalized, like it's referring to, when it's legalized. So there's unfortunately a lot of misinformation. Basically, if you have cannabis in the car, if you purchased it from a government-approved location,
and it still has that government-approved seal on it,
then it's fine as long as it's out of reach of the driver and the passenger. Now, if you have more than one passenger, that likely means still the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, like, a good idea there is just keep it in the trunk. Which, just do that.
Yeah, just do that.
They treat it exactly like alcohol. It's like as if you're gonna just chew up
them buds.
Chew up a raw flower.
Get blazed, buddy.
Or, you know, like the 10 milligram or 5 milligram oils or capsules.
Oh yeah, the oil capsules. Just start shoving them down. It's like you just left Tweed. Your house is literally up the road. I'm just gonna take the full fucking bottle and take an hour to get there.
Yeah,
somehow.
fuck it.
Yeah, right. But, sometimes it's a little bit silly. But also, too, it is to avoid some problems that can come with the legalization and people thinking that they can do these things.
Yeah, and so like, of course, there are some misconceptions about what you can carry your cannabis in. I've heard all kinds of things across like the local community. Some people think it has to be in like one of the government store containers. That's not true, guys. We can grow for plants. We're not buying government containers. We're not buying government seals for our homegrown for plants.
They do have a preference, though, that it is something that is childproof, and it is inside something that locks if it's inside your vehicle.
Yeah, so again, if you're, whether it's homegrown, government bought, your friend gifted it to you, you made a donation and someone gifted something to you. Like whatever your means of acquiring it is, just for carrying purposes in Newfoundland, just again, in the trunk, is the best way to avoid any problems. And that even goes for medical as well, unfortunately.
Yes. As well for medical patients, make sure you put that stuff in your trunk.
If you are a passenger and a medical patient, also put it in your friend's trunk. Consensually. Always ask.
Always ask before you put it in your friend's trunk.
Always before you put your cannabis in your friend's trunk, always ask permission.
I'm gonna say it, but Sarah never minds when we put it in her trunk.
No, she always lets us put the cannabis in the trunk.
We don't even have to ask, so it's great. The main thing that is different on the medical side compared to Newfoundland's own specific growing laws is growing itself. So what we're actually going to do is take a little bit of time to jump into your rights as someone who is growing cannabis. And I, of course, am going to be the the voice of the medical side. Haha.
No, we are both medical patients, but I think it's going to flow better if we just keep to one singular section of the rules.
Yeah, we're all stoners, so it's just kind of simplified.
It's easier. You hear my voice.
Right?
Recreational.
Yeah, he sounds recreational. I sound medical. Today, kids, we're going to talk about how much cannabis you can grow.
Oh my god, if you want to have a laugh, click around. We'll probably put the links in. But there is a series of poorly done YouTube videos that the Newfoundland government... Okay.
Yes.
From the Newfoundland government, we actually just watched them while getting everything ready to record, and they're terribly delightful. It's great.
All right. So, when growing recreational versus medical in Newfoundland, how many plants can you grow?
How many kids?
How many can you grow?
On the recreational side, you can grow 4 plants.
Yeah.
Inside.
And where does that inside place have to be?
It has to be your personal residence. It has to be your personal residence. It has to be in a locked room.
Yeah. And preferably have filters and things like that to suppress smell, and because you do have to worry about peaceful enjoyment.
Well, you do, and be considerate. Again, we love the smell, but not everyone does. And you know what? We disconnected our filter.
Yeah.
For a day or two.
And it got stanky.
It's crazy how much of a difference it makes.
Oh yeah.
So
you going back to the Winnipeg situation I quoted earlier of, a
good filtration system would fix that smell.
Filtration system fixes that. So, that's both sides. Now, on the medical side, how many plants can you grow? Well,
that's tricky.
That's tricky because it is based on your prescription. So, in my situation personally, I don't mind stating that my prescription is 5 grams a day. So, they actually times that by 5. So, I can grow 25 plants at any given time. as long as it is in my own personal place of residence, it has to be registered with ACMPR. So I got a slip in the mail that says, hey, you're allowed to grow here. Here's all the rules you have to follow. Here's how much you can grow. Mine is strictly indoors, so it is the 25 plant limit. That is the maximum I can grow personally right now. So if you are somebody who has a higher prescription, so you have a higher need for more cannabis medically, then you can have a higher prescription for more plants. And you don't have to grow it yourself. You can actually designate someone else who has a facility to grow your cannabis. It just has to be, I believe it has to be in a residence or building that they
have some
own.
ownership.
They have some ownership of. So that's the only tricky thing with that. But you don't have to grow your own. If you do need that much cannabis, you can get somebody else to grow it for you if, you know, they can be approved by Health Canada.
Because we happen to be very lucky that we have, like, space where we can grow our plants. But thankfully the law does see that that's not necessarily reasonable for everyone.
Yeah, so you can actually grow outside as well with medical, which is very different from recreational, unfortunately.
So on the recreational side in Newfoundland, and this was, it doesn't matter because it is the law, but it was something that I think was only added like very towards the end of the legislation coming into effect. So you cannot grow outside. Oh, can you grow in your backyard? Can you grow in your front yard? No, you cannot.
They say if you do grow outside, now you have to quote me on this, you have to call NLC, you have to make sure this is true, but if it is in a secure, locked outdoor building, so like a garage or shed, it doesn't have to be in your house, it can be on your property as long as it's secure and locked. They consider that as well to be acceptable for your recreational.
And so that's, again,
that's still indoors, yes, but it's still not inside your actual house.
Like
if you're worried about the smell more, it kind of separates that.
So I guess, you know, and if you got one in the shed,
yes.
If you got a grow going in the shed, like, secured, that's kind of inside. So again, you know, we're not lawyers.
Yeah.
The time has passed for me to do that.
Right.
So we're not lawyers. You know, we're just kind of giving you some advice as we know it, or as the Newfoundland government tells it to us.
And once you have all this set up, you have your fancy filters, you have your license from Health Canada, your ACMPR license. Where can you purchase your seeds on the recreational side?
So any of, and well, not all, but any of the approved government stores. Some stores I think just decide not to sell them or don't have the capacity. But you can buy your seeds, which currently I believe
you can only buy Tweed, I think.
Tweed, I believe, are the only seeds you can buy right now.
Yeah.
To boot, they are feminized seeds.
Yeah, they're feminized. You get
they don't want you to breed.
Yeah.
Do they sell them in 4s or do they sell them in 3s?
You still that's completely untrue because you're better off breeding a feminized plant. Like, you know, there are ways to breed feminized seeds. Well, yes, you could switch it, but
they don't want the average person to
which is something I kind of want to start teaching people, is how to breed their own seeds eventually. But we'll get into that another day.
So I think those are really the only seeds you can buy now. I know that there are other. You can buy clones. There are other clones that you can get from Even Co, I believe, which I haven't seen any of those go to completion yet, but I do remember.
We have tried them though, didn't we?
I believe one of them.
We tried the Gatherer. No, the Wanderer.
I don't know.
I don't know, something like that. Some weird like hippy dippy.
They don't.
Thing.
They don't give us the real names for half of these.
It was chill. It was okay
by the Health Canada.
No, we liked it.
Standard.
I think we thought about, hey, maybe this, if we can get the clone and it not be ridiculously priced.
Yeah, I would like to see what we could do with it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So in my case, on the medical side, when it comes to purchasing seeds, I can purchase seeds and clones from any of the LPs. So any of the LPs that do sell seeds or clones, I should add, as well is I can be gifted seeds or clones from other medical patients. So they have to also be ACMPR licensed. I can be gifted seeds or clones from them. I, of course, as recreational I can also grow seeds out of the bud that I purchase from a legal source. So anybody, if you get a seed in your whatever kush, like, you can just pop that in the soil and grow it. You're not guaranteed it's going to be a stable genetic, but it's going to sprout something.
If you get a seed in your Bodie McBoatface, you can try to plant it. It might work.
It might.
It didn't.
No. But, I mean, we have bag seeds running right now. We have your Critical Jack is a bag seed.
It's
it right now in our
yeah,
bag
and
seeds.
I mean,
everything else is breeder related, but
and she cloned.
Yeah, and she cloned. We have 2 clones off that Critical Jack. She
in
is
a solo
female
cup.
completely and beautiful.
Especially for a solo cup.
Oh yeah, she's a solo cup grow. And your first grow? Oh, precious.
Oh my god.
Alright, so once you have your seeds, everything set up, that's cool. My biggest thing I like to remind people is when growing, whether recreation or medical, is don't be a dick about the house. So don't trash somebody else's house. If you're going to be making renovations, you sure as hell better be able to put that shit back.
And
or
also,
know somebody who can put that shit back.
Like, don't get kicked out. Like, it's not an easy thing to hide.
No, not at all.
So,
it's loud, it's warm, it's smelly. Like, you're moving back and forth with water and soil and stuff. Like,
and
everybody knows.
And oh boy, trimming is smelly.
Oh, yes. And sticky.
Sticky and smelly. So, like, even if you have all your precautions for filters, like, there are parts that are just going to be smelly. So, like, let your landlord know what's going on if that's, like, a concern.
Yeah, and
that goes for recreational or medical.
And always consider, putting down plastic to prevent mold and moisture buildup, proper ventilation, proper fans. Make sure not to leave water on floors, things like that, things lying around that could be rotting or water-based. Use a tent if you very much so have to. Don't use rickety light fixtures. Just all these, like, very, very important things for you not to do. Whether it's your house or somebody else's house. If it's your house, I'd like, someone might say, oh, well, it's your house. Fuck it.
Like, do it right.
But do it right. Like, don't make everybody else look bad. This is the main thing. If your house burns down because you're growing weed, it makes it look like everybody who's growing weed is going to burn down their house.
Right.
So don't do it.
And we're not there yet. We need the image.
Right. That just kind of skims, the legal in Newfoundland. This is kind of our part 1, because this is more of our lighthearted, kind of hitting the little notes about what you probably already know, but just an iteration, because it's been a while since the beginning of cannabis legalization.
Oh, you know what? There are a couple of little things that I did want to mention, and it goes in a little bit about, like, NLC specifically, or the Newfoundland Liquor Corporation.
Oh, yeah.
So this is something that, like, as we mentioned, they are, like, the full distribution, supply.
Yeah, there's supply and regulation. So they actually regulate and set the laws and rules that are based around cannabis consumption and sales.
And even if you're purchasing it from these stores, like, these stores are purchasing from Newfoundland Liquor Corporation.
Yeah, NLC. NLC is Skynet.
So, NLC, they went on a little bit of, like, a power trip initially when cannabis was legalized.
Yeah, they wanted to... I don't know, it's kind of like they were coming out of an era of hating cannabis. So, like, they were scared. So
they were like, oh, we will,
wanted
like,
everything to be hidden. They were so afraid of it.
Like, they were like, we will sell it to you, but shh, guys, don't. It's still a bad thing. Yeah, and so, like, they were doing, like, what we call, like, the head shop hustle. Like, they had inspectors from the Newfoundland Liquor Corporation actually go into various local, like, glass shops that have been operating for decades unopposed, like, no issues, abiding by the law, like, never causing any issues. And, like, they started going in and telling these stores, hey guys, You can't use the word cannabis anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
you can't use the word cannabis. You can't use like the word toke, dab, like
you
joint.
can't use any slang.
Yeah, you can't use
or
any of the
associate this
cannabis-related
glass
slang.
with pot or weed.
Yeah.
Yet, we can go to the mall, literally the mall,
Yeah.
buy a bear bong. We were at Dollarama, and in the kids' game section,
There was beer pong.
there was bear pong.
There was an actual set of beer pong there in the kids' toy section. So, you know.
And it wasn't just placed there, it was a display.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of them there.
And so,
I mean, we like to start them young here in Newfoundland.
Well, it's true. and you know, so that's where we are with alcohol. Like, they advertise alcohol all the time. Like, if you go to the Newfoundland Liquor Corporation Twitter, it is all ads for like sales on wine and rum and everything else.
I mean, if you take the Metro bus, there have been Newfoundland Liquor Corporation
ads along the top of the bus.
Yeah, no, not just on the bus, on the bus
on the side of the bus.
themselves. Yeah.
So like they have no problem advertising alcohol in places where like children are exposed. Like, it's not really a protection method, and there's no age restriction on going in the smoke shop either, by the way, at Dominion.
Yeah, anybody can walk on in.
You can walk in there. I never agreed with it, but like when I worked there, even like kids had to come in there. There's no reason a kid should be in there.
Or if they do, just stand right by the door and don't move.
Exactly. So like the law, it's very like inconsistent. And I guess that's like the theme of the whole thing, is that the Newfoundland Liquor Corporation have been so inconsistent with enforcing these laws. Or like, I remember going to one Tweed location and they had like the beautiful Smokus jars out, where you could like look at the bud. We're actually like, I kind of want to get some for our own. So like they had these out and you could look at the bud and like at least see what you're getting, which is something you can't do right now. And so that was great. And then you go to another Tweed. I went to another Tweed store and like they had the jars there, but they were empty. And so like one of the employees there mentioned to me that like they weren't allowed to have them on display. They were told by an inspector from NLC that they couldn't have the cannabis on display. And so this has really been the theme. Like, they've been telling, and I guess it does come down to the inspector, but it's just been so inconsistent.
Yeah, and I myself, we're not going to name the specific store, but I did work with an LP during the
lead up
the lead up to the launch of cannabis in Newfoundland, and a lot of the conversations and struggles with NLC were ridiculous. The little things that they wanted done, and every day it would change. They would come back and change their mind, say, "Oh no, you can do that," and then a week later they come back and say, "Oh, who said you can do that?" So it was a struggle.
Well, like even recently, like it seems they were, telling some people, like some stores, no, you can't give your stock over the phone, or you have to ask age over the phone.
Well, at first I think it was ask age over the phone, and they have to confirm their age, then you can give stock. Then for a while they weren't asking at all and just giving stock. And now you can't at all, I think.
And I still don't know.
Right.
It's different
everywhere. It depends on what store you call, and
like even like the store we went to recently to pop in, like I had to grab some papers too. Like they said they couldn't even keep their list out anymore. Now I don't know if that's like a change from Loblaws.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or
if
from
Loblaws
NLC.
Or NLC.
We're not on the inside anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. and so it sucks. We were so hopeful for legalization.
But here we are.
We got to grow. You get to grow plants.
Yeah, we get to grow a lot of plants. So that's a lot.
We get to grow a lot of plants. Everyone gets to grow 4 plants per household.
Yeah.
So there are little perks.
Yeah.
Not everyone could grow before everyone at least can grow
and
now
least
if they
now
want.
Everyone can smoke. Everyone over the age of 19 can smoke.
So that's without that fear. So there are things that are good, but unfortunately it was made to benefit very select groups of people.
Which is something we will actually go into on the second part of
part
this.
2 is going to be fun.
In a week, you guys will get part 2 of this one, where we are actually going to go into a mysterious company within Newfoundland. To end off this episode, we just kind of want to throw in a few plugs there.
Yeah, we're going to do it a little differently. We were starting out with some plugs, but I think they fit better at the end.
Yeah, because then if somebody doesn't want to listen, they can just stop right now.
But listen.
Listen to us.
Please?
So, of course, me, Catherine, on Instagram. My name is Moon.Grown. I post pictures of our pets, myself, which is my face mostly, and a lot of our plants and pretty Newfoundland pictures.
More
Hopefully
to come
tomorrow
in the summer.
there will be some.
Oh yes, we should. The
which
weather's
in
supposed
this
to
podcast will be today.
It is actually.
No, I mean, it'll be today.
It'll be
later today.
Later today for us.
Yeah.
Maybe in the past for you.
Yeah, it's confusing right now.
Because literally, guys, when we finish recording this,
it's like 4 a.m.
It's 4 a.m. and I'm gonna edit this shit.
Yeah, and then at 4:20 we're gonna smoke a joint.
And so, which it is now almost 4 a.m. specifically, and so me, if you want to follow me, and I'd like it if you did. It'd be nice, you know. You can reach me at Arkham.Smoke on Instagram. Again, I post our pets, weed, more stuff.
Our faces collectively.
Yeah, and you know, so like, if you want to see more of our plants, we post plants on everything, but the Sour Weasel Cannabis on Instagram is where we primarily and collectively post most of our plants.
Yep, it follows both our veg room and our flower room. Hopefully from start to finish at this point, because we have just started a brand new run, and I'm hoping to get more information out there to kind of help people grow based on this new run that we're running.
Yeah, we're still plotting the logistics of, as you said, the kind of like the more like instructional type. I want to see if we can get some cameras set up.
Yeah, we would need some cameras for that.
Yeah, I want to go hard.
All right, and if you have a chance and you like supporting Canadians who like cannabis.
A very important one. You can find us, the Newfoundland Cannabis Podcast.
Yeah, the Newfoundland Cannabis Podcast. So if you like supporting Canadians' podcasts about cannabis, you can find us
at NL Cannabis Podcast on Instagram, at NL Cannabis Pod on Twitter, at NLC Podcast on Facebook, and YouTube. We're not important enough to get a custom YouTube channel yet.
Yeah, not yet.
So just search us on YouTube.
Right. Yeah, and if you don't, want to listen to just us and you want to get information from someone who's a little bit more professional with his podcast, you can listen to Remy Redeye on the Toronto Cannabis Podcast.
Which are fantastic.
Yes, fantastic. If you want something more structured.
Yeah, we're getting the in-between, like, of giving you information. It's not to say, like, Remy's hilarious. I love Remy.
No, Remy is hilarious, and Remy's great.
But, like,
and I like listening to Remy, but
he's fighting that good fight, and, we're giving a Newfoundland perspective. Of course, with the Toronto Cannabis Podcast, you're getting the Toronto perspective on everything.
Yeah, but... listen to him. He's got some great things to say. One day, maybe we'll all be working together.
On something.
Yeah. As well, one of our websites that I currently use for a lot of my growing information, we share our grow. I also help people grow on there when I can. SproutFreeCanada.ca is a forum of Canadians who like to grow. And it's to help people learn to grow. And we can all grow together. And you can also find Sprout Free Canada at Sprout Free Canada
on Instagram. And sometimes you may see our plants occasionally.
Yeah, they do share our plants every now and then because we bug them a lot. One of the people we met from Sprout Free Canada is also now doing their own grow assisting videos. That's Solar Sun Grows.
Which we finished. Well, we were like, I wasn't. You were
Yeah.
messaging him as we were watching the first episode.
Yeah. We have now nicknamed him, so from here on out, if we mention Solar Sun, it might be Big Boss Man.
It may be.
It may be, and we can't
And
help
we're so
that.
sorry. It's
We're
just
so
because of
sorry.
the specific pause screen.
Yeah, we paused, and it just turned into Big Boss Man, and that's
But just know, Solar Sun, we love you.
Yeah, we love you, Solar Sun, Big Boss Man. And, of course, last but not least, we would
On
like
our
to shout
outro.
out our outro.
Which is Productivity by Lee Fitz. Lee Fitz is some slappin' Newfoundland hip-hop. This song, again, is a song of our people.
We both worked at call centers. We worked at call centers with Lee.
And it sucked, but
Yeah.
Lee was great.
Yeah. So
And let him play you out.
yeah, let him serenade you, and I hope this was a good informational session for you guys. I hope you at least learned one or two things. Hopefully, if you didn't, I hope you had a good laugh at our shenanigans.
Save the narwhals.
Save the narwhals.
Yeah, since I was 18, worked for different heartless corporations for the last 12 years. I feel like I work for Satan, selling television and internet in the nation with secular is a need, and everybody is waiting for the next iPhone. Made by indentured agents and sells for $1,000. How much does it cost to make them on top of your monthly fee? Thinking how much you're paying for a service that costs fractions of what those companies taking. They making profits up in the tens of the billions. I make 30,000 a year and barely can make a living. Plus they make me work on Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving. Yeah, they pay me double time cause they have to. What if they didn't? It's the same for most jobs. Not many a different. Slave labor on top of wage labor to make a killing. Kids make it in a factory, I sell it in a store. Then I buy one for myself cause I'm just another whore. Your productivity leads to profitability. Your productivity leads to profitability. They make it in a factory, I sell it in a store. Then I buy one for myself cause I'm just another whore. Your productivity leads to profitability. Your productivity leads to profitability. They make it in a factory, I sell it in a store. Then I buy one for myself cause I'm just another whore. Your productivity leads to profitability, so somebody else can get rich off of all your abilities. And that's the American dream if you think it all differently. You're a heretic and terrorist against the divinity of capitalism. Such a savage religion relies on acts of attrition, leaves you trapped in a system where people sell their souls for the goals that they're after. The millions are free to do whatever you please when you're trapped in a prison. The materialism, the material vision of imperialism was hidden by satirical sit-ins. Politicians serve the profits of winnings. All their super PAC supporters, how they got the position. Damn, we all encouraged to be apathetic. Here's something and half, forget it, hour then a half a second. You sell your soul a discount, buy it back again in time with interest. It seems as though the cycle has no ending. Your productivity leads to profitability. Your productivity leads to profitability. They make it in a factory, I sell it in the store. Then I buy one for myself cause I'm just another whore. Your productivity leads to profitability. Your productivity leads to profitability. They make it in a factory, I sell it in a store. Then I buy one for myself cause I'm just another whore.